Hello and thank you for coming to Rick's Garage. Today we're going to continue on with the build of the Yamaha XV1000 Virago by Tamiya in 1/12 scale, starting at step 8. Now if you didn't see my other video for steps 1 through 7, I will put that in the link in the descriptions below. But without any further ado, let's get started. Okay, now to remind you where we've left off, or what we've completed so far, we've got our frame done with our fender and our rear light. And then we also have our wheel completed and part of the fork, or the lower fork, looking like that. And then we also have our engine that we've completed, looking like that. Okay, so in step 8, what we're going to start to work on is the shock absorber, which is the right shock absorber. And then we're going to attach the wheel onto the frame, and we have a couple of other bits that we need to do. I've already started to work on the pieces here, painting them in the colors that they are called for. So we have those two right there, and then we have these two little tiny bits right here that we also have to work on, which is these caps right here. Now, one thing that I am a little concerned about is that when you put the spring onto the shaft, there is a lug on this round cap here, which is supposed to go through this channel, and then we twist it into a locking position that's going to lock the spring and this whole assembly together. I'm a little concerned about that because all we're talking about is plastic, and I don't know how much pressure is going to be on that spring. So let's get started in step 8 and see what we got. Okay, now there is a little bit of tension on this cap that holds the spring in place, but it's not a lot of tension. You just have to be very careful of making sure that you're aligning the lug that's on this plastic cap that we've painted in clear yellow, and you want to make sure that it lines up with the slot that you see right there, and then push it down far enough until it gets to the point where you can then twist it into this little groove right here and lock it in. You will need your magnifying glasses to do this, but it's really not all that difficult. You just got to make sure you're lining this up correctly. Okay, so I've got my two parts right here, my frame and my wheel, on my Partwork Upgrades mat. This is a small mat. Partwork Upgrades has 3 different sizes. I do recommend these mats. They have been invaluable to my builds, both on my die-cast model builds and on my plastic models. They are very soft. They don't scratch. They come in various different sizes and colors. And Partwork Upgrades is discontinuing these mats. So if you'd like to get one for yourself, I would highly recommend you get yours before they are no longer available. I think the end date is November 1st, and I will put a link in the descriptions for you if you are interested in getting one for yourself. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in so you can see how this wheel is supposed to go onto the frame. So you take the wheel this way around and your frame in this position, and you're going to line up these lug holes here and here to this lug hole here, and one on the other side as well. So this is it's going to take a little bit of maneuvering, but this is going to go in something like this. Okay? And then once you got those holes right there aligned up, then we're going to take a couple of parts right here, little bits, and we're going to squeeze these in or push them in to secure that wheel in place. Okay, that's how that looks when the pins are installed. Now those pins go in very, very loose. They actually can probably fall out too. I'm not going to glue mine in just yet because I think I'm going to need to have a little bit of room here to move this wheel as I put the other parts in. There's a shock absorber that's got to go in, and then there's another part that has to be attached as well. So I want to leave myself a little bit of wiggle room. And later on, if I find that I don't need to have this wheel moving, I can always go back with a pair of tweezers, remove those pins, and put some glue in to secure them in a little bit more tighter. But that's how that looks once all that's installed. Okay, so there's our shock absorber attached. And in my case, the hole up here where the top of the shock absorber goes into the frame, that hole was too small for the lug, and I think it was because of the painting. So I just took this drill bit here, which is a 1/16 drill bit, and just twisted it into that hole until I was able to get that lug into the hole. And in my case, it was a very tight fit, so there was no glue up here, but I did put some glue down here at the very bottom to anchor it in. Okay, now next we need to take this piece here, and this is going to be a little fiddly to do. This side here is going to attach into this hole here, and this lug hole here is going to go underneath the frame here, and right underneath this part here there is a lug right there that is going to go into this lug hole here. So let me get this in and show you what that looks like. Okay, as I suspected, that was a tricky piece to put in, but only because you've got to kind of align it underneath this tab right here. But once you put this in over here into the hole where it needs to go on the wheel, the other side lines itself up perfectly to that lug, and then you can just go ahead and just glue it in right there. So what I did was I put a little bit of glue over here on that hole, put a little bit of glue on that lug, and then put the piece in, and it went in just fine. And you can tell that these pins right here are still falling out. I don't think I'm going to need to wiggle this wheel anymore. It's pretty well solid in there. So I'm going to go ahead and glue these in. I'm a little disappointed in Tamiya. I don't know why they have us put these pins in. I think they should have been screwed in, and then if they wanted to, they could have made a plastic part or a cap that went over the screw. They've done that on other models. I don't know why they didn't do it on this one, but that is just a little bit of an irritant, I think. This should have really been screwed in. But I'm going to go ahead and glue those pins in and move on to the next step. Okay, in step 10, we're going to attach the engine to the frame, plus we have the shock absorber that goes on the side of the wheel, and then we have another part that's going to also be screwed in when we do the engine. I'm going to tackle the engine first because I think it's going to be the most difficult. This top part right here, which is this right here, is going to slide up into this groove area, and you'll notice that there's a kind of a post right here that's going to butt up against the edge of this piece. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue in this area here underneath the frame, and that is right here. I don't know if the camera can see it or not, but it's right here is where that piece, where that slide is, right here. So I'm going to put just a little bit of glue in through here, and then at the same time we're going to align these two holes on both sides to this hole right down in here. So let me get this on, come back and show you what that looks like. Okay, the engine's in the frame, and let me tell you, that was hard. That was not easy. That took over 20 minutes to put in. The biggest problem I think that I had was because the screws are slotted. They're not Phillips head, and that really made getting those screws in very difficult because the screwdriver kept on slipping from the screw because it's not a Phillips head screw. But trying to get that in lined up down here as well as properly lined up in here was very difficult to do. But I finally got it in after 20 minutes of struggling. This is what we have. So the engine is now attached to our frame. Okay, now next we need to get our right or left shock absorber in, and this lug hole here is going to go into that lug right there, and this lug on the shock absorber is going to go into this hole right here. And getting that shock absorber in completes step 9. Okay, in step 10 we work on the muffler, and we start off with these two pieces looking like this, and these just go together simply like this. And then this piece here goes on something like this, just like that, which would then look like the picture. So this assembly is this assembly here. Okay, so what we need to do next is once this has been assembled like that, this pipe here has got to be threaded underneath the bike this way and into the back of the engine right in through there. And then once that's in place, we then take this piece. There's a slot right here that's going to go over the ledge of this piece right here. So this is going to go on like that. And then once that's on, we then maneuver this piece into place. So step 10 proved to be another very difficult step to complete. It was very difficult to get this hose into this area of the engine back here. You have to feed the hose in this way and then try to maneuver the hose into the hole in this grommet or cap, whatever this is, that goes into the engine. Then that kind of rounds its way around this way, and it connects to this spot right here. There's a lug right here where this hose connects into. And then this assembly right here connects to this slotted area here, and then there is a lug and a hole right back here that secures this onto the bike as well. But getting that hose in was very difficult to do. I hope that this step 10 ends the most difficult stages of this build. Okay, so the other thing that I did off camera was to install this piece right here, this part of the exhaust system, and that goes into this area of the engine right there, comes around and then connects into this part of the muffler. And when you put glue on this area right here to connect those two together, you want to hold it and push these two in together. Put pressure here and push so that you get yourself a nice clean seam right there. But that completes step 10. Okay, step 11 is pretty simple to do. First we have to construct our other muffler right here, which is going to go onto the bike right there. Then it looks like we have a kickstand that we have to paint and then put onto the bike. And then we have this other part here that needs to go onto the bike right there. So it looks like a pretty simple stage. I'm going to start off with this piece right here. And this has a notch at the bottom, as you can see, and that notch is going to conform around this part right here. So I'm going to get that on, and that's how that piece looks like once that is on the bike, looking like that. Okay, now next what we need to do is that we need to take these two pieces here to form our muffler, and they just kind of go together like this. We'll glue that on, and then we'll put that onto the bike, which goes into this area right here. Okay, just to put these together, you just need to follow the instructions on how the picture shows it being put together. You take your piece looking like this, and there are two lugs, one here and here. They're going to match up to the two lugs here and there. And this detail needs to go toward this arrow looking part right here. So this is going to go on. These chrome pieces are a little slippery, but this is going to go on like that. Okay, so I have a little bit of a problem putting this piece on. You'll notice that there is a lug hole on the back here, and it looks like a little bit of a lug hole on the back of this. And my piece right here, this lug right here, does not go all the way through the hole. It's flush. So there is no lug to go into this piece right here, and there is no lug to go from here to go into the hole there. So I'm going to have to super glue. I'm not going to use Tamiya glue. I'm going to use super glue to glue it here and then glue the base on down here. Okay, now the last thing that we need to do for step 11 is to put this part in, and I believe this is the stand that the bike is going to rest on. The way this is going to go in with your bike in this way around, there are two lug holes here and here between these two pipes. And what you'll need to do is that you're going to have to hold your part like this and squeeze these two pins together slightly and then lock them into those two lug holes down in there like this. And when that's in, that's how that should look. Now this does kind of move back and forth or up and down like that, but I think this is what the bike is going to stand on. So when you put your bike down, and that's how the bike should look when it's sitting on the stand. Okay, to put the gas tank together is pretty simple. There's a lug hole here and there. And on the other side you got your two lugs, and they're going to then go into those two holes, and it's going to look like this when it's together, just like that, and there's going to be like a trench going down the center. Okay, so I have completed the assembly of the gas tank and sanded it all down, and I also sprayed some Tamiya white primer on this. The instructions say to spray white first, then maroon. So instead of spraying X1, which is white, Tamiya white, I decided to prime this in Tamiya's white primer. So I'm going to continue on working on this, and then we also have this assembly here to do. So when I'm all done with the painting and the decaling, we'll come back and get this finished and move on to the next step. So while the gas tank is drying the paint, because I painted this in maroon and it's in the drying booth, I'm starting to work on this assembly here. Now this is going to be I think a difficult piece to do. Not because you're putting three pieces together at the same time, which is fairly simple to do, but there is no instructions on where this is going to fit onto the engine. If you go to the next step, on step 13, you'll see that it looks like it's sticking out. And then when you go further into the instructions, right here on step 16, you'll notice that the arm moves around into the engine, but there is no lug on the engine or lug hole on the engine on where that piece is going to go. So this is going to be like a take your best guess type of an assembly. So I'm going to do my best to try to figure out how this piece is really going to go into the engine. The only thing I can also almost guarantee is that this is going to go straight down. So I'm going to glue this all together, the assembly all together, come back and show you what that looks like, and then we're going to try to figure out how to get this on the engine in terms of where this line, this pipe is supposed to go. Okay, so the way this is going to be assembled is you take your piece looking like this, and there's a notch right down here at the left, and you have a post here, and you have a locating lug right up here. And with this piece this way around, there is a locating lug here, or hole here, and there's a hole there. This hole here is for the post, that hole there is for the locating lug. So this is going to go on something like this when it's all put in. Okay, now that this piece is fully installed, attached, what we're going to do is we're going to take this piece here, and there is a lug on here at the top that's going to go through this hole right here. So what you do is you take this piece and you just slip it underneath that hole like that. Now the question is, what angle does this go in? There's no way to really tell from the instructions. So I'm going to put mine straight because it looks like it needs to go in straight based on this picture in step 16. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, when your pieces all are attached, that's how it should look, just like that. And with mine now, remember, I don't know if it's supposed to go straight down or if it's supposed to be at an angle, but I'm just taking my best guess. And that's how it looks on the other side. So we really won't know, or I won't know, whether or not I did this right until it's time to put it on the bike. Okay, I just finished painting up and putting the decals on the gas tank and a couple other bits that go on it, and right now it's in the drying area after I have applied a coat of Tamiya Clear. So while that's drying, we can move on to step 13. And the first thing that we need to do is to take this piece here, looking like that, and on the back there's a little bit of a lug that you can see right there. And that lug is going to go into the space on the back of this piece that you can see right there. Okay, now next we're going to take this piece here, looking like that, and on the back you'll see that there is a large lug hole here and a post right here. The post is going to go into this hole right here, and that large hole on the back is going to go onto this lug right here. So this is going to essentially look like this once it's installed. Going to kind of sort of look like that. And then once it's on, this arm coming down is going to rest into the engine back here. Okay, and that's how that looks once that's installed. Looking just like that. And then that arm reaches all the way down back into the engine, right back into here. Okay, next we take this piece looking like that with the Virago logo painted in gold. And on the back of this piece there are two lugs, here and here. They're going to match up to the lug holes here and down there. Okay, now next we take this piece looking like this, and on the back there is this square shaped hole right here, which is going to match up to the square shaped lug that's right here. So this entire piece is going to conform to this shape right here. Okay, my microphone, I forgot to turn it on when I was doing this rear assembly here for the lights, but it's very simple to do, not difficult at all. The only build tip I would give is to put these lights on first. They have a half moon shape, and for me it was a tight fit getting that half moon shape into that hole on that chrome piece that goes onto the fender. So my recommendation for me would be to put those lights on first. But that's how that should look once the assembly is all put together. Okay, still working on step 13. We're down in this area right here, and we've already got this light on. I did that when I was putting this whole entire assembly up here. We need to work on the back rest pad, and then we have a reflector that we need to put onto this assembly here, and a few other details that we need to paint up and assemble. The back rest pad here is this right here, which I've got, and you want to make sure that you hold it in this way around with this line that you see right down there. And then you want to take your back panel looking like this with the Virago logo on it, and you just want to plop it right into place. Now when you do that, you'll notice that it forms these two voids right here. Okay, these the two slots. Those two slots are going to fit over these two sections right here on the back. So when the pad goes on, it's going to go on like this, just like that. And then what we need to do is that we also need to take this rear reflector this way around, actually this way around with the reflector looking down, and it's going to rest on these two side lugs right here that you have. So that's going to go on just like that, and when you do that, it's going to rest nice and flush on the back, looking just like that. Okay, so I'm going to get all this painted up, the back rest panel. I'm going to see if I can't show you how I'm going to put the gold lettering on that logo. It's going to be very close-up work. I'm going to see if I can't try to show you how I'm doing that, or at least describe how I'm doing it, and then come back and finish up the assembly for step 13. Okay, I'm going to try to show how I have been painting the lettering that's on some of the parts that are on this bike. And this is the backrest seat. It's all painted in the semi-gloss color that it's asked for in the instructions. And it also asks us to paint this logo here in gold. So I have my gold paint right here that's called for. Then I'm going to take this Q-tip. Now this is a firm Q-tip. It's not, soft or anything. It's actually firm cotton. And I'm going to open up my jar, and I'm going to run the side of the paint jar with this Q-tip so I can get paint on the Q-tip like that. Put a little bit more on there. Okay. All right, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to zoom in, and hopefully I can show you how I do this. What I'm going to do is this, I'm just going to put this very gently on top of those lettering. I'm not going to roll it, I'm just going to kind of pat it on there, and hopefully I can show you how I get that to be painted in gold. So I just kind of pat it down, trying to get it as perpendicular. Okay, so the camera was getting in my way. I was trying to show you how I do this, but I think you got the gist of the idea. All I do is I take my Q-tip, run it around the top of the jar so I can get some paint on this, and then I take the Q-tip and I just kind of press it under the lettering until I get to the effect that I'm looking for, and that's all there is to it. And I think it comes out pretty well, actually. And hopefully that'll help you out on your builds if you're having a little bit of a problem trying to get your lettering done. But that's how I do it. I think it works out great, and I hope it works out for you as well. Okay, now next what we need to do is we need to take our back seat looking like this, and these two slots that you see on both sides are going to fit over these two areas right here. I don't know what you call these, lugs or ledges or whatever, but they're going to fit right over these right here. And that's how that looks once that's in, looking just like that. Okay, now next what we're going to do is we're going to take our rear light or rear reflector looking like this, and with it this way around, there is a kind of like a circle here at the top. We want to make sure that that is pointing up, and just like the seat, this is going to fit over these two areas right here. And that's how that looks once that's installed, looking just like that. Okay, now next we take this piece here with our logo already painted on, and just like before, there are two lugs on the back, one long and one's short, and they're going to go into the holes here and here. And that's how that looks when that's installed. Looking pretty good. Okay, now next we take this piece here, and this has an interesting lug shape at the back. Don't know if the camera can pick that up or not, but it has an interesting shape to it that is going to match the interesting hole right here. So this, when you put this in, it's going to automatically align that piece up correctly as you put it in. Okay, you are going to need your magnifying glass to make sure that that part goes in correctly. Don't know if the camera can actually see that or not, but that's how that goes in, and then it will then correctly position itself, looking like that. Okay, now next we need to take this piece here, and there are two lugs on the back right there. I don't know if the camera can see that, but there are two lugs right there in the center. And those two lugs are going to fit into the two holes right here. And when they go in, it should position that piece to go in correctly. So let me get that in and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, that was not an easy piece to put in, but that's how it looks when it's installed. It just was very difficult to get that to go into those little tiny holes. I think the lugs should have been a little bit larger or longer, and that may have helped to put that piece in, but that was not easy. Okay, we're going to put the bike aside for a moment, and we're going to bring up this piece right here and this piece here. Now this piece does have a decal on it. I don't know if you can see it or not. It's kind of hard to see, but there is a decal on there. And just like on the other side, we have this piece right here, which has kind of a little bit of a lug right there, which is going to match up to this little space that you see right there. So it can go in the right position. Okay, now next, after you put that piece on looking like that, on the back there is a locating lug hole right back here. So there's a hole here with a notch, and that notch is going to line up with the locating lug right down here. And that goes on just like that. Okay, now next we come to the part which I have been dreading to do because I think it's going to be a little difficult, the gas tank. And on the back of the gas tank you see two lug holes, one with a notch in it, and on the other side one without. What we're going to have to try to do, and you're not really going to be able to see exactly what you're doing, but right here on the bike, and I'm going to zoom in just a little bit for you. On the chassis, there are these two notches, here and here. What we're going to have to try to do is, on the lug underneath the gas tank that does not have a notch, we're going to try to slip this into the hole, and then as we do that, we can lower the gas tank down and slip this through the notch on the other side of that hole that we saw. So I'm going to try to first get the lug to go into this hole here, and then I'm going to lower it down so that that lug can go through that notch right there. Then what I'm going to do is, as it's resting down like this, something like that, I'm going to put a little bit of glue right in this area right here just to help secure that in. Okay, so I think I have my gas tank on correctly, looking like that. When I tried to move it back this way, as I was applying the gas tank or positioning the gas tank on the chassis, I couldn't. So I was more or less assured that the gas tank was actually in those lug holes. And the one thing that I do need to make a correction on, those two lug holes that are underneath the gas tank, they both have a notch. So all you have to do is just lower the gas tank down onto those lugs that are on the chassis, and you should be pretty well set. Now I'm also using my gloves because I don't want to put any fingerprints on the gas tank that I cannot easily wipe off. But that's the gas tank on the chassis. And that completes step 13. Okay, so this is how the bike looks at the end of step 13. Now in the next video we'll be starting on step 14, and hopefully we'll be able to complete the bike at that point. But we'll see how that goes. But in this video, I really hope you enjoyed it with all the building and the painting tips that I've given, and you've also found it entertaining, and that you'll give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't already subscribed, please remember to hit that subscribe button and that bell icon so you can be reminded of new videos that I posted. Other than that, always have fun in your garage, your workshop, or wherever it is that you build your models. Until next time, thanks for watching.